Hi, everyone. Welcome to the late train, or as I would like to put forth, let's be the late plane. This is our special airplane episode.
Airport episode.
Or what episode?
Isn't it called Airport?
Yeah.
No.
It's Airport.
It's not Airplane's a comedy movie.
Wait, we watched Airport and not Airplane?
Did you watch Airplane?
God damn it, I watched Airplane.
That's such a different movie!
Airplane, god damn it.
No!
Could we start in a way where, like, what's the word? Like almost conversationally, does that make sense?
No.
Where it's like, we're like, how's everyone doing?
Yes, it absolutely
say,
makes
like, what
sense.
they're doing.
However, can the conversation be about how we're starting conversationally?
It
Because
could be.
No, I hate when we do that.
This is the joke we do every intro.
every intro is just an intro bit about our intro, and it gets more and more meta every time.
Guys, let's
Yes.
start a running joke.
All right.
Oh boy.
Now that we've said our official introduction line, let's start a running joke.
Yeah. So how's everyone? So this week's been Corona City, man. This quarantine, how's everyone surviving?
All right. Anyway, so now that Jonathan's started our conversation off, and Jonathan has now watched the correct movie, we're able to actually review Airport. But first, we have a fan. Their name is Tracy. Our producer is going to talk about it just a little bit.
Yeah, she says she loves the show. So we're doing something right?
All right. Well, she
Sweet.
also gave us a cool suggestion we might do, but it requires us all to be in the same space. So that won't be happening on this episode. But we actually think it's a pretty cool idea.
We just
All right,
want to
anyway.
say
Now
Shout
to
out
talk
to
about
Tracy.
the movie that we have at this point all seen, hopefully. Airport.
Airport. The pilot from your Flight 45 made a shortcut across the field, and he didn't make it.
Well, what are you doing about it?
Well, when the snow melts in April, we'll get it out. What the hell do you think I'm doing about it?
Directed by George Seaton and Henry Hathaway. It was released on 25th of March in 1970, 50 years ago. Had a budget of $10 million, but made $100 million. And it was
Whoa.
set in Lincoln, Illinois in this airport. It also got, Helen Hayes won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, the fabulous Miss Quonset. Basically, there is an airport manager, and he is faced with all kinds of disasters. And it's fantastic because he's facing a blizzard and a jerk of a brother-in-law and a bomb threat and an old lady that sneaks onto planes. And all the while, he manages to cheat on his wife and make sure that everyone else can cheat on their spouses as well.
Yeah, no, it's
Is that
fantastic. Because I mean, most movies, right? It's about an earthquake, or it's about a storm, or it's about a terrorist. This movie is like about all of that and more. You know,
Absolutely.
it pulls all of the stops, and it's fantastic.
If you look at the description, like when you're buying the movie, it makes it seem like the whole movie is about the bomb plot, about how a guy gets on a plane with a bomb and they have to figure out what to do.
And
But
also,
really,
the blizzard, I think, is bigger.
in the end, like the bomb plot feels like a subplot, if anything. Like it happens so late into the movie, and then like I don't know.
Though
Like,
I still think my favorite in terms of serious scenes absolutely is the setup to the bomb guy. The music, the tone are just incredible. It's this really cool, like well-lit shot that just builds the suspense up of him actually getting the bomb ready. You see the dynamite on his bed as he's packing his suitcase up. You see him stringing the wire through to the handle.
Mhm.
It's full of really good suspense. It could easily have come from a movie that was far more dark, far more serious. And then it sort of peters out.
Yeah. I mean, if you take the movie seriously, I think
You're not going to have a good time.
Yeah, but that aspect of it like seriously, I would think he and his wife Inez, I think are like the strongest characters.
I think they're in a different movie.
Yeah, it feels like a different movie. It really does.
Every time they're on screen, the entire setting is different. When Miss Quonset, and which we'll get into, and the bomb guy whose name I do not remember, are
Dio Guerrero.
Guerrero, and I remember that
Guerrero?
because his name is Spanish, but he's not Latin at all,
No,
or
he
Spanish.
he says that his roots came from a long, long time ago. He actually does explain why he's a white guy. But when Guerrero and Quonset are sitting next to each other, it feels like someone's on YouTube trying to make a compilation mash cut of two different movies.
Yeah.
It's this constantly fighting tone.
The beginning, basically, we see this snowstorm, and our hero Mel is running the airport, and basically this one airplane was being piloted by young guys, right? And then like doesn't make it to the gets stuck in the snow because they don't drive it the right way. Is that what happened?
Yes, he does. He's scared of the snow and he's worried about tipping the plane over. So he drives slowly and he doesn't have enough momentum to get over the snowdrift to the hangar.
Mhm.
So basically, it's Mel's job, and basically people start getting angry with him. And this movie tends, like a lot of this movie, is just people being angry with Mel. His wife gets angry at him because she made a dinner reservation, but he can't come because it's like literally an emergency at this airport. The stockholders, like on the board of directors of the airport, get mad at him.
Yeah, no one is.
Because there's some people protesting the airport because it's too close to the neighborhood. That's a whole subplot. His brother-in-law gets mad at him because I don't even remember why.
Well,
Is he
his
even
brother-in-law is
competent?
the pilot, right?
Yeah, his brother-in-law is Dean Martin.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And I was confused about this. Did he like write a letter or something?
He wrote a letter saying that the noise issue was the airport manager's fault because he did not clear the other runway and therefore was not prepared for the storm. So he basically called in the commission saying, hey, they should have had, Anchorage has 5 times the amount of snow and they're clear. And he's like, no, Illinois doesn't get, these winters very frequently. So it would be dumb to have the millions and millions of dollars worth of equipment if you only use it once every 10 years.
Yeah.
What's the great about this pilot is that he's cheating on his wife. Everybody knows, including probably his wife, that he's cheating.
Oh, his wife is open about it. He said his wife
knows.
Doesn't care because her idea is that if anyone gets too serious with him, he'll show them the wedding ring, and therefore basically make the stewardesses go away. So she thinks he'll never divorce her because he basically just uses her and then she uses him because she gets, part of his salary and whatnot.
Exactly. And it's I don't want to say I'm condoning it morally, but like it's fantastic in that like no one learns a lesson from it. Like nothing bad really happens because of it. They just all kind of live their lives. And
yeah, his wife, we'll talk about later, his wife ends up being wrong about that.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
Yeah, but the whole movie, and I watched this with my mom, and she hated it because of how like nonchalantly cheating was treated in the movie. But like literally every relationship you come across, like it's just like everyone's like, oh yeah, and I cheated on you, by the way. And it's just like, okay, like I guess that happened.
That's a stereotype of pilots, is that because they're constantly in different cities, that they like. There's a lot of pilot stories about them having full-on second wives that the other and families and kids and stuff that the first family doesn't even know about. It's definitely exaggerated, but it is actually a stereotype of pilots, especially I think at that time.
Yeah,
less so.
Got girls in all the ports, right?
Like sailors.
Yes, my favorite cheating moment in this movie, jumping a little bit ahead, is Mel's wife finally comes to the airport because Mel, the airport manager, doesn't come home. And they have this whole big discussion about getting divorced. And they're like, oh man, but the kids. And they're like, this is the best thing for the kids is divorce. And then she says, there's something else, Mel. I've been seeing another person. And he goes, what? Are you serious? As he's seeing another person. But the best part is the wife goes, wait, you didn't realize I was seeing someone else? I'm offended by that you didn't think that I was cheating on you.
It wasn't,
she
no,
was like,
it wasn't.
You know so little that you don't know I'm cheating on you.
It wasn't that she was mad that she didn't know. She was mad that he'd never even considered it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
he'd never even thought.
That sounds like me so badly.
She was mad that he'd never said, I guess she could probably also find another guy to shtup while
Yeah.
I'm finding these girls.
So again, like sort of like The Gods Must Be Crazy. This is a movie almost of a lot of subplots. Mel calls his boy Joe Paterni, or Petroni, he's got a very
Petroni.
Italian name.
It's Petroni.
He says, Petroni, I need you to get this airplane out of the snow. He's like, hey man, I'm making out with my wife here. And
He
he's like, you have to come.
he doesn't sound like Mario. It's not that pronounced.
No, he's not actually Italian, but just the name Joe Petroni sounded so Italian to me.
It's very like I like that yours is a combination of an Italian man and then like the "Hey, I'm walking here" voice. Like it's your impression of this very average sounding middle American is an Italian mobster in Brooklyn.
Yeah, it's what can I say? At least it didn't turn. A lot of my accents end up turning into Christopher Walken. I don't know if you've heard that before.
That's absolutely something that is
No,
happening.
it's all of his accents actually.
Meanwhile, there's a guy who kind of down on his luck. He can't really provide for his family. This is the bomber, and he makes
He
a
can't
bomb.
hold a job because he gets in arguments every single time with his bosses, which is like the crew, the boss ladies.
Yeah. So this is a scene that Michael, you were talking about, where they kind of set up like, it's like they introduce this new character and you kind of like don't quite understand what's going on because they're just showing these scenes happening of him setting it up, and then you're like, oh, okay. And then I thought, so the scene with him and his wife in the diner, I think is one of my favorite scenes because I think just in that one conversation, like you really.
Hello?
Uh-oh, did we lose Anaki?
We lost Anaki.
Just feeling that something's gonna happen, and there's like ominous music playing the whole time they're having this conversation, and he's like, yeah, I got a job in, I don't know, it was like Detroit or something. Milwaukee, yeah. And he was like, don't worry about it, it'll be 8 months, I promise I'll be good. And she's just the sweetest wife in the world, and he's like, thank you for staying with me through all of this. And
Wait,
I don't know,
which guy is this?
this is the
why do we keep losing Anaki?
so like he's
Wait,
huh
We're
No,
losing you.
you just
Anaki.
cut it in and out there.
wait, what
sorry,
was it? Which guy is this?
D.O. Guerrero.
Like
Yeah,
the Italian guy or the
bomber.
No,
Bomber.
The bomber.
Oh.
The
The
guy's
Italian
good
guy
bomb.
is a specialist at maintenance crew stuff.
Yeah.
He
Mhm.
builds and repairs planes.
And this bomber guy is the one on the
Yeah.
plane.
Basically what he does is apparently you can buy life insurance at an airport in the 70s. And so he goes and literally buys an expensive life insurance policy because he plans to kill himself on the plane with the bomb over the Atlantic Ocean so there's no evidence. And that's his plan.
so that his family can get the money.
Exactly.
Absolutely. It's
Um,
mostly his wife and his kids too, right?
He's got
It's
kids,
his
yeah.
family.
Another subplot is that Dean Martin, it turns out the flight attendant who he was sleeping with. And here's the thing, when they are flirting with each other, they're using strictly airplane related pickup lines. Like that was a hard scene to watch because I'm like, do flight attendants and pilots usually flirt like this? Like talking about their landing gear and like their whole of the controls? Like, I don't know about this.
I loved it. I thought it was so over the top and adorable, honestly. Like their relationship is surprisingly healthy. And like while it's based on deceit, it turns out they actually do love each other, and I don't know.
Wait,
I was kind of rooting for him.
is Dean Martin the guy who's cheating on his
Hey,
wife?
he's one of them.
And it turns out the flight attendant reveals to Dean Martin before they take off that she's pregnant with his kid. And they have a really interesting conversation because they're basically talking about abortion, but they don't use the word because you don't think you can back in that time in a movie.
Anaki,
They
I
lean up
swear
against
I heard
it.
it. Did you not hear it? I don't know.
Abortion?
I thought I heard the word.
I
Wow, they
feel like-
they get so close to it that you absolutely
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he asks the other pilot about it later using the word.
Yeah.
But I don't
think he says,
remember.
what do you think about abortion when you had because the other pilot has like 6 kids and he's
Yeah.
like 3 of them were unplanned. He's like,
Yeah.
did you think about? I think he said, did you think about aborting them?
Yeah, but I don't.
Gotcha.
In that conversation, they definitely like dance around. In that
Yeah.
initial one with Gwen, they're
Yeah,
like,
and I think the reason there is it's kind of realistic. Like it would be very hard for him as the man to suggest to this woman that he got pregnant specifically to
That's
get
true.
rid of it. And so I think that's part of the way he dances around is he's trying to sort of kind of be subtle and a little bit
Yeah.
caring. I
Yeah.
think that's what that comes from a lot.
I can see that.
she tells him that she loves him, which I guess he always knew, but he obviously like doesn't want to admit it because he's married. And I guess like he and his wife always had this understanding that like he can do whatever he wants as long as it never gets serious. And now he's hearing that like Gwen doesn't really want to give up the baby. Like she has this connection to the baby already. And I don't know. It's kind of, it's like that weird tone thing that we were talking about, or like it got
Where it
serious.
gets very serious for a
fast.
while, and then
Yeah.
10 minutes later, there's a nun that's taking shots,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
happens
true.
in the movie. That's not an overstatement.
Why are there
that's-
always nuns in these plane movies?
Yeah,
Have you noticed?
I literally wrote that in my notes. I was like, do people see nuns this often?
And they're always not like casual nuns. They're always
Like,
full habits.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
we
yeah.
will not talk to men.
yeah.
Definitely.
Very.
I
We
mean,
skipped
this
over
movie's
a
0
fun
hour.
little side plot in terms of talking about these vignettes earlier. The customs guy.
Oh yeah,
I-
can I just mention
that's-
one thing about the nun real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Airplane. I want to say I could be messing this up, but there's a nun scene in Airplane, right?
Mhm.
And one of the nuns from the sequel to this movie, Airplane 75, also plays a nun in Airplane. And they were afraid that they were going to get sued for that at some point.
It's because it's like the same character. Or...
Yeah, it's the same actor playing the same character in an airplane disaster movie.
That's
really
interesting.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so customs guy.
Customs guy. So customs guy has been in the job for decades and can just apparently detect evil. He's like a D&D caster.
Yes,
and just
definitely.
is able to just sense when people are hiding something magically, and finds this woman that had hid diamonds in her dog's collar and basically in the lining of these coats and whatnot, and then later sees Rio Guerrero, and that's why they start suspecting that there's a bomb, is because he thinks that something is nervous. Something
He
is
looked in his eyes.
Yes, he looked at his
Yeah.
eyes and he could tell that there was malice.
Yeah.
Using his magical detect evil powers,
Yes.
he cast a spell, and he's like, cool. Well, because what he said is, the look in his eye and the way he was holding the briefcase, something was wrong. So that happens. They take off, and there's a bunch of like fights going on about because they end up taking off late or because the bus is late and because they can't get the snow out of the way.
The bus is late because of the traffic, because of the
Yeah.
snow.
Yeah. So they take off, and then they start to get a handle on one. There's this stowaway lady, Miss Quinsett, who just
Quonset.
is a serial stowaway on airplanes and likes getting free flights.
Because
She is
basically
the best part of
she's
this
incredible. She basically claims that like if the airlines actually stop her, then it's gonna look bad for them. So she knows that they'll have to let her go. And she has so many great lines. One of my favorites was she talked about how her husband could play the minute waltz in 58 seconds.
That was a funny line. Yeah.
Which was
Yeah.
terrific.
My little brother, he was watching with us too, and he's like a big music nerd, and he was like, "What? It's called the Minute Waltz," and I was like, "Yeah, that's a joke." But-
Yes. So she had some great lines, and she was great comedic relief in the movie.
And isn't she the one that won Best Supporting Actress?
Yeah, she's the
Yeah.
one. Helen Hayes is the actress's
Yeah.
name.
That's how
So
good of her
basi-
performance is. This comedic relief character
Yeah.
in a blockbuster disaster movie
Yeah.
won an Academy Award.
Yeah.
because of how
Well,
good
like,
she is.
it's because like most of the movie isn't even about the disaster. It's like it's called Airport because it's literally like it's mostly the airport. Like there's so few scenes of them actually being in the plane until
Yeah.
way
Well, it's
later in
all
the movie.
it's all about how their jobs, I feel like, mesh with their personal lives and also the politics of the airport. Because everyone's
Yeah.
mad at each other the whole time. Because there's
Mhm.
all these different, the stockholders in the airport don't want this protest to get very like crazy, so we can't lift off the airplane late. But if we lift off the airplane late, the bus doesn't get here on time, and everyone's just kind of mad at each other. They eventually find out that the guy with the bomb is on the plane because his wife finds out he's on a plane to Rome and not to Milwaukee like he had told her, and gets the airport people involved. They find out that he's got a bomb in his case. They get the serial stowaway to help cause a distraction while they try to grab the case, which is great. And also, this is like an 80-year-old lady, and the flight attendant just decks her to make a distraction. Like, imagine the plan, like, hey, we're just going to punch you while I grab the case. That was a pretty intense scene, in my opinion. I was not expecting.
Well, to me, that whole sequence is just the best. It's like the best part. Because, like, obviously, Miss Quonset, she loves the thrill. And it's just so much fun because, like, when they invite her to help them, she's just, like, so on board with it. I don't know. I could talk about her for hours. She's just the best.
Do you ever see older people and just think, you are my old person goals?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, I can see Quinset being one of them. You know?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, she's amazing and absolutely
wanna-
deserved. She's an idol.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Just all the scenes in the airport I was struggling to get through, like in the first
Really?
part of the movie. Yeah, I was struggling with the stockholder meeting and yada yada yada. But anytime there was a scene with Quonset, I was like, finally,
To be fair,
true entertainment.
to be fair, I think that the scenes that were more kind of boring and drab were
Mhm.
important just because they set up how much suspense was able to happen later.
Well,
So
and
sorry.
this is one thing I love about the movie is that it takes a while to set everything up, and it definitely does take its time to set things up. But the payoff is, I feel like, great. Like it's a fantastic amount of suspense. All of these stories have a lot to do with each other, and I feel like they become so intertwined. You can't imagine this story without all these subplots. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I think the Mel subplot with his wife, I don't think I was like, not.
That's definitely the one I think that it needs to be there the least.
Yeah, I was just like,
I think her
know.
character is useless. I think you could talk about the wife and then
Mhm.
still have the cheating part and that be a like relevant story and just never actually show the wife because I don't think her showing up adds anything.
Yeah, and then
can we talk about Poindexter?
Yes.
Is the name of the guy. I don't know his actual name.
Wait,
There's
is
this
it the nerd?
really nerdy kid.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like real little. He's like 10 and basically literally looks like he's from one of those special episodes about bullying from the 80s.
Yes. He looks like the real life version of Mandrake from Dexter's Laboratory. The nemesis of Dexter. He looks like him.
Yeah, that's incredibly accurate. And basically his entire job is just be this really annoying brat that knows a lot about airplanes. And he talks about how he's the one that realizes they're turning around. They're trying to secretly turn around once they know the bomb's on board to not alert the bomber.
Yeah.
Because the bomber is basically saying he's waiting until they get over the ocean so that they can't find the plane, the wreckage, and identify that it was him.
Mhm.
And so they turn around, and then this this snotty little kid is like, excuse me, based on the position of the Sagittarius constellation, I believe that we have turned around. And my favorite thing is Dean Martin's character just throws out this pile of jargon at him. It's like, oh, when you look at the altimeter, if you do a recalcitron, and then he uses like made up words and a bunch of just random plain things, basically saying like, we had to turn around to get to our destination faster. And the kid clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. because it's not real.
Yeah. No, those aren't
doesn't-
real words he's saying.
Yeah, but doesn't want to look like an idiot in front of his parents, and so his parents just said, what is he saying? And he's like, I'll tell you later.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. And then just shuts up.
Yeah.
It's my favorite way of dealing with a potential really serious problem that they do in the whole movie.
What I also like about the nerd is that he's the asshole nerd that his parents are just so proud of.
Mhm.
Like, even though everyone hates him, his parents just love him to death because he's so smart. Good job, Billy.
I feel like if he just had like therapy, he could be a good kid. I think they should have dedicated. I think they could have cut the wife's character out and introduced a therapist for this kid. Just-
That would be interesting.
it would surely be a different movie.
By the way, I'm reading through my notes that I took while watching the movie. And
Uh-huh.
basically the whole thing is me saying, like, hating on Vern, who is Dean Martin's character.
Yeah.
It's just like, Vern is a dirty cheater. He got and then, like, all men are cheating liars.
So that's what Anaki learned from the movie.
Yeah. That's the moral lesson.
It's actually the goal. The director, I talked to him about it, and he said the whole
Okay.
goal was
Oh,
just
really?
to make sure that Dean Martin's character would tell everyone that all men are dirty, cheating liars. I like some of his lines, though. He talks about decompression being like a chunk of hamburger down a disposal.
Oh, yes.
It is incredibly like intense line for a movie that hasn't really talked about anything like that, and that it's just really out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I mean,
lot
the
of
only
lines.
time that you think that like we're in danger is by the end of it, and they're trying to get the case and talk him down, and he locks himself in the bathroom. I forgot to mention this. We're cool with spoilers and stuff on this show, right?
We have been.
Did we go into the ending? We have been.
Yeah,
Do
we
wanna
always
keep it
have
that?
been.
Okay. Well, so then he blows himself up in the bathroom. He pulls the bomb, which I didn't see coming. I don't know about you guys, but
No,
it
that-
honestly surprised me.
Editing.
To me, that part was, like, crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the intensity. It does happen so fast. And I think the explosion itself, like, all of a sudden, you're, like, hit with it. And everything gets so serious.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, in terms of a disaster scene, that part of it was, like, really awesome.
I
Oh, yeah, it
remember
was super
actually
effective.
sitting up. Like I was laying down, munching on
Mhm.
popcorn, and then I remember like actually sitting up in my chair because of how intense that got.
So when Guerrero goes in the bathroom, Gwen's, like, banging on the door trying to get him to come out.
Wait,
And then he detonates the bomb. And so she, like, flies back and she gets super injured. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, Elizabeth.
who's Gwen with again?
It's the
Gwen?
pregnant
It's
lady.
this girl, the girl in the background of my
Yeah,
screen.
but who's she with?
Dean
Oh, she's with the
Martin.
pilot. Yeah, Dean
Pilot.
Martin.
Oh, she's with Dean Martin?
Yeah, this is
Wait,
Dean, right?
why the emphasis on Dean? Like, there's not another Martin
I
in the
don't know.
movie.
That's true.
Just checking.
I
Just
don't
making sure you
know.
don't think there's
Okay,
like a second
Never
Martin.
mind. I don't remember. I don't watch the movies.
I thought
Oh,
it was
that's okay.
Sinatra.
I
This
just follow along. I hope that you guys can explain to me what happened.
Wait, Steve Martin is in this movie?
Okay, by the way, so I was talking to my dad about this movie and I was like, "But Dean Martin's in it." And my dad started singing When the Moon Hits Your
It's
Eye.
your eye light.
And I was like, "Why are you singing that song?" And
You didn't realize that was Dean Martin?
I didn't have
Wait, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, Dean Martin's When the
kidding
Moon Hits Your Eye. He's That's Amore. That's his song.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't realize. I was like, "Oh, that's a singer, Dean Martin."
Is he Italian?
I
don't know.
mean, I think so.
He might have
Look
Italian
it
roots,
up.
but
Was there a Dean Martin show?
Yes.
yeah.
Okay,
He was. That's what
it
he's known for the most is the Dean Martin show. He hosted it for
Gotcha.
like
Yeah.
decades. He was a great
think-
TV host.
I think my sister is really into his TV show. She really likes
He's
it.
actually also
What
a
about
very
Ohio?
solid actor. I've always thought of him as sort of a joke. He's good.
Mhm.
Like I didn't realize
Yeah.
how good he could be, but even in this relatively silly role he's playing, like he handles the serious conversations very well, and he handles the
Exactly.
lighter moments with like
Yeah.
a quick
One of
wit.
the-
It's impressive.
One of my dad's favorite movies of all time. It's a Western. I can't remember what it's called. It's, like, really classic though. But it's him and John Wayne and, like, just a bunch of other, like,
Oh, True Grit.
Okay, by the
No,
way,
it's not secret, but
Dean
Yeah.
Martin, he's from Ohio. He's not Italian.
I mean, I think he might. It doesn't mean he doesn't have like Italian heritage.
yeah, maybe Italian roots is
Yeah. Also, he just has a good voice. So
Basically, the movie ends kind of half. I mean, everything works out. They land the plane.
Petroni, is that his name?
Yeah,
Petroni clears the
Petroni.
runway with a fantastic line. The technician is saying how the 707 can't do it. The manual says it's impossible.
Mhm.
And Petroni responds with the line, "That's the great thing about the 707. It can do everything but read."
That's a good one.
For that, that's a good line.
That's a great line.
And my favorite part of that scene too is while he's getting this plane out of the snow, he has this huge cigar in his mouth that he's smoking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And like he's like
Straight
almost
Freudian.
chewing on it, and it was fantastic.
He was I liked his character.
I liked it too. I think
He
it
was
was
just like,
he was like a hard-boiled you know,
yeah,
like I've seen it all and more times than you can count.
yeah, no
Yeah, I
bull
love
crap,
Mm-hmm.
willing to take risks. He was
Yeah.
cool.
Absolutely.
So I mean, movie ends. Dean Martin. Oh, sorry. Did you have something else you were gonna?
Well, I was just gonna say his wife just being like, "I understand," was the healthiest relationship by far in the whole movie. Like,
Oh,
yeah, I know
definitely.
you promised, but this is clearly important. And
Because at the end of the movie, basically they take Gwen, the flight attendant who Dean Martin is sleeping with, to the hospital, and he goes with her, not even looking at his wife, who is also at the gate. And the wife just kind of looks on, and
then walks
a
away.
little sad. It's kind of like a neutral expression that she has on, you know, like maybe a little sad, but also like not surprised, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was sort of a like, I'm glad that someone could give him something that I clearly couldn't, but at the same time, I hate that it shows that he could give it at all. Because I think she
Yeah.
thought he was incapable of being as serious as he clearly is with this woman.
Mhm.
So she's hurt that he could find that and that it wasn't with her. But at the same time, like glad that he has it in all. I don't
His
know.
wife
That's how
is
I saw
so
it.
nice.
Oh
His
yeah.
wife is nice, although very bland.
Mhm.
You saw her for 2 seconds, my dude. How do you
Like,
know?
no, because because you also have the conversation in the car, and you have her at the airport. Like every time she's on screen, she just kind of chills.
She's nice.
Yeah, she's
She
nice.
deserves
I don't
it.
know. She just, I don't know. Like, she doesn't. There. Yeah, her character does not develop very much. Her entire character trait is that she's like she doesn't care if she's used as a rug or a doormat by pretty much every other character. Like her brother is like, "Why are you letting this happen?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's fine." I don't know.
Well, and then there's a great line at the end of the movie where Mel, the airport director, is with the woman he was sleeping with, or I don't think they actually ended up. They weren't sleeping during the movie, but there was definitely flirting going on.
Yeah, I don't think they ever like
They
quite
hinted
went.
that they'd done it before and then stopped,
Okay.
but it was
The-
never
well-
confirmed one way or the other.
Yeah.
So the woman he has something going on with, once the whole thing is over, she's like, "Let's go get something to eat," and he goes, "How about your apartment? You say you make pretty good eggs," and it's just like, "Damn, bro, that was smooth. That's a good one."
It's a good line.
And then
I
they
don't know.
drive off
I
together.
wasn't impressed by it.
I mean, the issue is that the movie actively is trying to get you to root for the cheaters to win.
That's my
Yes.
problem with it. Because, like, with
It's-
Vern, I would have thought him and Gwen's relationship was really nice and sweet. Except for in the back of my mind, I was like, aren't you going to get your wife those gloves from Rome you promised her? Like, I don't know. I just couldn't get the wives out of my head. So, like, all
Well,
those relationships.
You're a better person than pretty much every man.
Well, so here's the thing: is I'm noticing. I don't know about Michael, but at least me and Anaki have opposite opinions on cinematic romances. Because
Yeah.
I hated the romance in Gods Must Be Crazy, but she loved it.
Mhm.
And then this movie's the other way around.
I enjoyed the romances in terms of like, I didn't like that they were cheating, but I was like, if they're gonna be cheaters, at least they're happy together, and it seems like everyone's just kind of okay with it. Like,
Well,
like no
that's
one
what I
was
meant.
really mad about it because the wives, she was cheating on someone else, so she's with him, and this wife didn't seem to actively care too much about him. She gave him sort of like a free pass.
In terms of like
waitresses and
sneaking
whatnot.
around, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't know. I mean, like open relationship at most is what that one was, except one way. And so honestly, like, I liked it in the end. I think it was cute and well done. I have my moral problems with it, but I think if your brain is on enough to think about the moral implications, you're not enjoying this movie anyway.
I didn't really enjoy it. Anyway.
Absolutely a brain off, popcorn in the microwave, feed up movie.
Which, by the way, when I was like looking up random facts, so Burt Lancaster, who was Mel, the airport manager in the movie, he said, and I quote, that the movie was the worst piece of junk ever made.
Are you serious?
That's incredible.
Dang.
I know
He hated
Roger
it.
Ebert hated it. I know Roger Ebert hated it,
Yeah.
but that's.
Wow.
I like to.
I
hear
don't
that.
know.
That's
I guess
funny.
I'm kind of jumping ahead to our ratings a little bit.
Well, I don't
We're
know,
pretty
because
much
like
done.
it wasn't. I mean, because here's the thing, it wasn't. So are you saying it wasn't received well? But I mean, it almost won best
It was.
picture.
It got really, really mixed reviews.
Gotcha.
People pretty much either loved it or hated it. There weren't too many people that were like, "Yeah, it's fine."
I
See,
mean,
that's-
there were some people who said it was like the best movie made in 1984, but then other people were like, or
Yeah,
1980.
70.
Sorry. What am I saying?
I don't know. You're talking about Orwell.
Wait, what is this quote? Oh my god. Okay.
It's from
Well,
a
'cause
different
there's-
random movie.
this spawned sequels, right? Because there's Airplane 75 and Airplane 77.
Again, this
Airport.
movie isn't called
Oh,
Airplane.
Airport, dang it. Airport 75 and Airport 77. Oh gosh, yeah.
You want to go ahead and get to ratings now?
Let's go do
Oh,
ratings.
okay. That
Alright.
quote I
Naki,
said.
Naki sounds like she got something.
Wait, I just want to explain the quote. So, critic Judith Christ. I don't know
Elizabeth,
who that
way
is.
too early.
Huh?
Elizabeth's just trying to read it already.
Oh. Okay,
Alright.
I'll just say this really quick. She said this is the best film of 1944, and it was a joke. That's why I was so confused. she's calling the movie dated. But I just wanted to
Oh,
explain
okay.
why I said that random quote before.
Alright.
I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of
appreciate
cheating
that.
involved, a lot of infidelity for a 44 movie, you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of like oh, I'm in the ward, so it doesn't matter if I cheat on my wife because I might get blown up tomorrow and still get the money. Like that's sort of the attitude of a lot of those like 40s movies. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
You
about
know what
that.
your voice just reminded me of, Michael?
What?
Wazowski!
Oh gosh, I guess a little bit. If I kind of get more in my nose,
There's a little rosin there.
yeah.
Mm.
All right.
All right, we're
Did
Did
doing
you guys
ratings.
know
This is gonna be a
Okay,
monster
at
reference.
the Monsters Inc. ride at Disneyland,
Yes.
there's an animatronic Roz, and it flirts with you. So like when we went, and my dad was wearing a blue shirt, she goes, "Hey, you in the blue shirt? I'm gonna come to your closet tonight."
I'm pretty sure all those animatronics, they have like people with the security cameras and they like
Yeah.
find marks that are.
Yeah.
That's great though.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so
All right, so back to airport.
back to airport. All
Are we
right,
ready to rate this
let's do ratings. Ready?
All right,
Wait, let me think about it.
Think about it.
it should be instinctive.
Okay.
Now, should I give a rating for all 3 movies that I watched?
No. Maybe after we do the original
Yeah,
airport.
let's do the for real one.
Premium episode is my 0-hour review. How
What?
about that?
Thumbs up.
Okay.
Thumbs wherever you want them.
It's not working because of my digital background. But I'll-
Uh,
All right,
I'll
so
do
we got
that.
2 thumbs up, 3 thumbs.
I have a thumbs up and a thumbs.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we have
thumb.
3 thumbs up, 3 thumbs down, and 2 no thumbs.
Yeah,
So that's a completely neutral rating there.
that's impressive.
I'd say that's a fair final.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think that's pretty fair. What did you
Who
give it?
wants to go first on their closing remarks?
Okay, I'll go first.
I'll go third because it was my movie.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I don't know. Even now, I'm still rethinking my rating.
Okay. No going
Overall,
back. It's live, okay?
this is
We
it.
can't
This
go
is
back.
it. This is what I said. I'll stick with it. Overall, I I really did not have a fun experience watching the movie. But I gave it a thumbs up because there are some really like enjoyable aspects of it. And like if you look at just those parts, like Quonset and then the Dio Guerrero and Inez, like those 3 character stories, I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. And I really like those parts. And Quonset like is one of my favorite characters of all time. So I felt bad giving it like no praise at all. But just it's like overall like I feel bad.
It was the old lady that did it for you.
The old lady gave me some hope for it, and then that final scene was pretty good. But the first like hour and a half, I was like, no bueno. That's it. It's not very deep.
All right, what about Jonathan?
So here's the thing. Michael, you said it right when there's the dialogue can be really cliche. It leans on a lot of cliches and tropes. But if you know that going in, I think this is a very enjoyable movie. Here's the thing, because when I get in the right mode, sometimes those cliches just knock it out of the park, right? Because it's like, let's just do them all and do them cool, you know? Let's do all the disasters. Let's have everyone cheating on each other. Let's have all these subplots that don't touch to the very end. And honestly, like I was kind of wondering, it was engaging for me. So I don't think it was amazing. But as far as what it was, I think it was really good. And it was a good time.
What was your rating again?
Oh, my rating was 1 thumb up and 1 no thumb.
Yeah. So, okay. Very similar. No, 1 thumb up, 1 no thumb. I think there was a lot of fun moments. I think there's some really good characters. I think the acting across the board is really good.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many cool quotable lines that I had to give it a thumbs up. The no thumb is because it has its issues. The first half drags on very slowly, even though that sort of builds up to the end. And I mean, there's a lot better like modern movies that still do that. Like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm not going to spoil.
Okay.
But
this
does
is
the same
really
sort of thing where it builds up very slowly.
Okay, this is really weird because you know what movie I was reminded of when I was watching this movie? I thought this is reminding me, giving me Once Upon a Time in Hollywood vibes.
Yeah, it does a lot of that
I can't put my
build
finger
up.
on it.
It's the slow build up to events that that don't necessarily happen how you imagine them they will.
Yeah, well, I think it's the build up plus the kind of the machismo that's going on and like
and the slow
the glorifying of the masculine in a way. I think that was also a part of it.
With a couple strong female characters that are kind of like in this case mostly just Quonset. And I will honestly say that I think the stewardess had her own, like Gwen had a pretty solid arc and like was pretty much in control of her action.
I liked Gwen. Gwen was fine.
I think it definitely would pass. Does it pass the Bechdel test? I bet it does. Yeah, because the old woman and the secretary, Quonset and the secretary have that conversation about stowaways, and they don't.
Yeah, I didn't have problems with the female characters. I had problems with the male characters.
Yeah, that's fair. So yeah, I think it has enough problems that I'm not going to give it 2 thumbs up, but I think it's a fun movie. I enjoyed my time with it, and I recommend it overall. And Elizabeth, who has not seen the movie, tanked our rating from being
I kind of appreciate
thumbs up to no thumbs
Damn you, Elizabeth,
because of her 2 thumbs down. So let's hear it.
Seriously,
you better have some good
a lot of cheating there. Like it was hard to follow along because I never ever seen this movie, so it's hard to follow along. Did not know half the characters, and I was like so lost. And then
this seems like a negative review of our episode and not of the movie. So what is your problems with the actual movie?
Okay, the problems with the actual movie: cheating.
Yes,
I agree.
That's enough of that. Neither of us gave it 2 thumbs up because of cheating.
And then I don't know. It was just like because my thing is because you guys said it was such a slow build up. I hate slow build ups. I just think there's like no point to them. Get to the point. I'm done.
So this movie built up too slowly for you, is what you're saying.
Yep.
This movie that you didn't see built up too slowly for you.
I mean, and also I like the climax was good, but I was expecting a little bit more because like really the only casualty was Guerrero.
Well, I think that's sort of like part of the idea was that because of the actions of so many of these characters and the way that they mesh together in their lives, like all of them working together successfully did manage to avert the disaster. And I think the anticlimactic nature of it in and of itself is sort of a climax. I enjoyed that. I think that having it only be one death and managing to prevent all the other ones, like you had to have the bomb explode. I think if they'd managed to talk him down, it would have been boring. But I think
Yeah, definitely.
explode and then managing to actually save everyone, I give it a lot of props for that.
Okay. Agree to disagree.
All right, do we have the next
So-
movie picked out?
Not yet. I would just like to float an idea really quick. Maybe a fun little game we can play each movie if we feel like it. What do you guys think the moral of this movie was?
If you're gonna cheat on your spouse, do it with someone you love.
It's a good moral.
Aren't
think?
morals supposed to have good messages?
I didn't say that.
Okay, here's what I think a good moral is from this movie. I think it's like divorce your spouse before you cheat on them. So
No, they don't show that at
That's
all.
true.
So that's not in the movie.
No,
that's
because
just
Mel
advice.
divorces.
That's just advice that you want
Mel-
to give them.
Mel hadn't finished divorcing his wife, by the way.
That's true.
They
That's
just
a good point,
talked about
actually.
it, and then he was like, I guess it's okay now.
Or
To be fair, he only started actively cheating when his wife admitted to cheating.
Yeah, I was
So-
less offended by that part.
I think that this movie had the moral that is probably one of the oldest proverbs that we have as human beings. I think Aristotle said it when he said, "It's okay to have two girlfriends as long as they go to different schools."
Oh my god. As
All
you were
right.
setting that up, I was like, I know.
I knew it was going to
I
end in
know.
a bad joke. I just
Yeah.
didn't know what it was going to be. I like how the guys on our podcast routinely just come across as these sexist assholes.
Oh,
I
yeah,
hope
That's why Elizabeth and I are here.
you guys are?
If any women watch the show, Michael, we're going to be undateable because of this. All of this.
Maybe
You are
you.
undateable. Both of you are undateable.
Our only fan is a woman.
We're sorry, Tracy.
respect.
Inaki,
Yeah.
what is your
Inaki,
moral?
what's the moral?
I think this movie lacks all morality.
Yeah, that's the real answer. That's why I gave a joke answer. Is there's not
Wait,
a real
maybe-
moral in this movie.
So would you say the moral of this movie
Is that not every movie has to have a moral?
no is that there's no such thing as objective morality?
No.
Whoa,
I
sure.
would not say that. I would say that if anything, it's saying that views of morality are subjective, and objective morality is achieved when you watch a better movie for morality.
Yes, that could be it.
Watch if you want a morality lesson, watch The Good Place. If you want
Guys,
a movie
I guess
about
the moral is it's okay to cheat on your wife as long as the girl is younger than you and is very pretty.
that's a
AKA
good point.
someone you
That's a
love.
good point.
AKA someone you love. They're synonyms.
Um,
Oh,
I'm
God.
reading this crazy book right now called Sapiens, and
Yeah.
one of the points it makes is that like everything we base life around is a myth. So like morals are a myth and justice is a myth. Like they're useful myths, but they're all made up in
I
our like
mean-
collective imagination, and that's
Alright,
what
I'm
makes
reading-
society work.
I'm reading Moral Tribes, which talks about it's a view of utilitarianism called deep pragmatism, and
Okay.
it argues that in reality, morality can be objective because it comes from benefit to society as a whole. And the idea is that basically the biggest argument against utilitarianism is that you could have like pleasure, like basically vacuums where you would have to give up all of your happiness at the expense of trying to make other people happy. But the idea is that if we do that as a society, that it actually would create more unhappiness, because if that's an expectation, people will be unhappy if they try to do it or if they don't. And so therefore, trying your best to give what you can and to help who you can is an intact moral philosophy.
But is utility an actual thing, or is it just an imagined social construct?
Well, the idea is that you can measure it in terms of things. Like it's a lot of neuroscience in this book, so it talks a lot about the utility in terms of a lot of it's Charliology, but it talks mostly about the idea of happiness in terms of comfort. So it's things like it talks a lot about like the pyramid of needs.
Mhm.
If you're familiar with that from psychology,
The
in terms of- I don't remember
like
the guy's name.
self-actuation and all that.
Yeah.
Actualization.
So it talks a lot about like the value of that in terms of like not specific number quantities, but in terms of thinking about different situations and being able to relatively figure out where you stand. Anyway, so this is probably not going to be in the podcast.
Wow. Our comedy podcast.
It's just a 10-minute debate on
utilitarianism.
I mean, this kind of happened in Gods Must Be Crazy.
I've
Just started talking about civilization.
Gods Must Be Crazy
Society.
definitely lends itself to it more than Airplane lends
Yeah,
it. Or not
Airport.
Airport. I'm turning into my father. Let's see. Airport. Airport does not lend itself to philosophy. That's the one.
That's fair.
As much as Gods Must Be Crazy does.
All right. So, do we have a next movie picked out?
Yeah,
I think it's Elizabeth's turn.
Elizabeth choosing, which means that she has to watch it.
Second movie. Okay, we're watching 9 to 5 with Dolly Parton and Jane Fonda.
Ooh.
What year?
Michael, do you know that movie?
What year?
It's 1980.
Okay, so we're going to a 40-year throwback with 9 to 5. I
That's
know the song.
exciting.
And
That's not the right song. It's working 9 to 5.
I'm so excited.
But I don't know the movie, so
You're welcome.
For me. All
I've
right,
never
cool.
seen Dolly Parton act except for in Hannah Montana.
Yes.
I've not seen Dolly Parton. I've been to Dollywood.
Does she play her?
Her godmother, isn't it?
Oh, does she play herself in that one?
Yeah, she plays herself, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Anyway, we will see you back here in 2 weeks.
Is that the time frame?
Yep. Everybody stay safe. Stay inside.
Unless by the time that this comes out, the quarantine is gone.
No.
Yeah, that's what we said last episode, but
Sure hand.
Last
Every episode we're gonna say that because we are hopeful.
We're hopeful, yeah.
And we'll close it off with Jonathan's science fact of the week.
Oh wait. Did we have a cast and crew corner?
Oh yeah, do we have one of those?
No.
I don't.
No.
Okay,
All right,
we
we'll
missed
have
it
one
this
for next
week.
or next
We'll
2
do
weeks.
it for the next week.
We'll have one next week.
Okay, Jonathan's science corner. Studies show that people tend to run faster when a lion is running behind them than when there's not.
What's the sample size?
N equals 69.
I'm sorry I asked.
Hi everyone, thank you for listening to the episode this week. We hope you liked it. As always, if you want to get a hold of us, send us some fan mail or whatever else you might want to send us, you can send it to the latetrainpodcast@gmail.com. That will be in the show notes. Also, go ahead and check out our website. That'll also be in the show notes. We got some cool things cooking up for that. We're going to be posting little mini reviews of things that we watch in between episodes. So go ahead and check that out if you want a little more of a dose of the Late Train. And, if you feel like donating, covering our movie rentals for the next week, you can donate to our PayPal, which is the same as our email, thelatetrainpodcast@gmail.com. Have a good one and stay safe out there, all right?